you want to just talk about public speaking?
Yeah, it's
TEDx Talk It Gun.
What made you want to join Toastmasters, Sean?
Toastmasters, dude. I used to suck at public speaking. I hated public speaking. Yeah, no. In middle school, actually, going back to elementary school, I was a beast at public speaking. I loved performing. Actually, no, I didn't. But No, don't cut.
No, I was kidding.
I mean, it was a weird dynamic between myself and should I stare at you when I speak?
Yeah.
Between myself and like performing. 5th grade, I did this Hope Musicals Theaters thing at Fair Meadow. It was with a bunch of my soccer teammates. I think one of their parents wanted us to do something like musical, something creative, because we were always playing soccer all the time. And he was like a huge jock. I'm guessing he didn't really do much creative stuff in elementary school. So in the summer after my 5th grade, they signed me up for this Hope Musical Theater thing, and I had never done any theater, but I was a little rowdy 5th grader, so I didn't really give a hoot about being on a stage, or I wasn't really insecure about that type of thing. And it was Peter Pan, and I was Captain Hook, so I landed a big role, and I killed that. I absolutely killed it. I remember I had some songs too, like it was like a musical type thing. Hope Musical Theater, yeah, it was a musical, and I was going ham on the stage, and I loved it. But then somewhere in middle school or freshman year of high school, I just lost it. I just didn't practice at all. I think middle school I wasn't really focused on like public speaking or anything like that. I didn't really do it. I was more focused on like being cool, I guess, and wearing skinny jeans and stuff. Nothing against skinny jeans. Fact checker, can you check that? But yeah, in high school, I remember freshman year I had this really bad communications teacher, and it wasn't her fault by all means, but I remember just getting up in front of the class and being like so nervous, and then it just went downhill from there. And I would like purposely not take classes because I knew there was some sort of presentation aspect or some sort of public speaking aspect in it. And then that kind of just pushed me to eventually join Toastmasters. Obviously I skipped like a huge chunk of the story, but why did you join Toastmasters?
That's awesome. Yeah, I would say much of the same. I've never been too good at public speaking, just getting nervous and stuff up there. And I've always like really enjoyed it though. It's a fun experience. I think it's a useful skill, and I've wanted to get better at it for a while. Like I took a communications class at college, and we had I think 4 speeches, and it was fun. And each one I got a bit better, so I was motivated to just keep. I really wanted to like continue my public speaking.
Sorry, we're recording. Please, you can come in if you want. Oh. Was there bacon? All right, we're gonna have to pause here. My mom just brought bacon in.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sorry.
No,
just talking.
I mean, we are talking. That's what. Yeah, never mind. Thank you. Appreciate it. I guess we'll put the bacon here. Okay, cool. You can have some. I mean, don't chew in the mic.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think more than anything, I think it's important to. I think I like public speaking, and I want to get better at it, and I joined Toastmasters because I think it's important to place yourself in those situations where you're uncomfortable and you're nervous, and there's a possibility you might get embarrassed or whatever.
Totally.
Because I think those are, everybody says it, but those really are skills. Some people start off better. Like some people, there are certain personalities that go up there, and they're super confident, and they're just like, I don't know, maybe extroverted, and they're good at public speaking. But if you're not, that's totally cool. And it doesn't have to be like if you get nervous doing something, or whether it's a sport or anything, I think it's important to just like keep doing it and keep putting yourself out there. And I think a program like Toastmasters is good for that. It's like a supportive environment, and just to get better at that.
I totally agree. No, yeah, I used to think, I remember seeing Tone, you remember Tone?
Yeah.
Class president? Yeah, so this guy 2 years younger than us, I remember seeing him just get up on a stage in Spangenberg, 500 people there and just speaking. And I thought to myself, that was, I was just like, wow, this guy's just naturally good at this. Like he didn't seem nervous at all. It was as if like he was having like a intimate conversation with like just an individual. Like it was a one-on-one conversation almost. It wasn't as if he was, preparing to give a giant speech in front of the entire student body at Gun. And that almost like discouraged me because I thought, okay, he's just natural at it. So like I can't get better at this. Like I'm beyond help. So I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to avoid it at all costs. And that was like a terrible mindset. And I'm glad that my dad just mentioned, yo, you should join Toastmasters. And I'm glad that I just randomly joined Toastmasters. Not randomly. I knew I had like a problem that I wanted to, not a problem. I knew I had like a weakness that I wanted to work on. And I said, screw it. Like I might as well. I was on like my gap year thing. So I was like, I might as well like work on something. So I joined, and then just like you said, like it's a perfect environment. I think the thing with public speaking, like you first have to overcome that initial like nervousness, and you just have to speak to do that. Like it doesn't matter, excuse me, it doesn't matter like what you say. You just have to get up and speak in front of like a room of people. Like slowly move up. Maybe start with like 10 people, then move up. And Toastmasters is like great for that. It's like 15 to 20 people. Like you were pretty good at public speaking. This is just from an outsider's perspective, but like you were pretty good at public speaking. It seemed like in high school, like you get a TEDx talk senior year.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. I was super scared for that. I don't even know what made me want to audition for that. Maybe like college apps. I'm not sure what my motivation behind that was, but I knew like when I went to that audition, I half wanted the part and I half didn't, because I didn't want to go in front of everybody. Like if I did get the TEDx role, I didn't feel like I was ready to go speak in front of 500 people or whatever. And it was great that Lucas came along because it kind of helped me out.
Yeah.
Split the role. But yeah, I definitely wasn't. I think I wasn't like when I would walk up, and I still get this when I would walk up in front of people to talk, I would definitely still get extremely nervous, and like my body would become tight and stuff. And yeah, I think the most important thing is just to like put yourself under those conditions and keep putting yourself under those conditions over and over again. And then eventually and it helps with anything. Like let's say you're trying to have a conversation with somebody who you're nervous to talk to. Like let's say you're just not good at having conversations with people. Like you get nervous or whatever. Just like keep putting yourself under those stressors, and it'll change you. Like you don't really even have to do anything.
Do you agree? Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off real quick. Do you agree that like maybe when you're first starting, it's maybe counterproductive to put yourself under like super stressful conditions? Like let's say that you suck at giving like a speech in front of a bunch of people, and you get up in the middle of the auditorium and try to speak, try to ask a question or try to give a speech, and like you're just what happens if like you just completely botch it and you just get really discouraged? Do you think it's something that you need to like incrementally start? Like 100%. You need to just start raising your hand in class. That's kind of what I found with myself. Point. I had to like kind of build up to it.
Point. I think raising your hand in class is a great way to get started. But I think most of the disappointment comes from not performing the level that you think you can. Even if like whenever I would like, let's say I would just raise my hand in class and speak, I would only be disappointed when I knew I didn't do as well as I thought I could have. So I would just try to do that. I would just tell myself to be as relaxed as I could have, and maybe at that point I wasn't a good public speaker. But if I had the correct mentality and everything, so I think it's really, you might, if you're comparing yourself to like the best public speakers, and it's gonna be tough. But just have like a few cues that you follow. You want to be calm and stuff. You want to be relaxed when you go up there, and then just go through it. And it doesn't matter how it actually turns out. I don't think so much, but just how, I guess, you deal with it.
It's all how you like perceive the challenge. I think I totally agree. You need to put yourself in those little stressful situations to overcome that initially. And I think, at least for me, what I did was I tried my best not to compare myself with other people, and that's so much easier said than done. Like that's super hard. Like you see someone who's doing it better than you do, right? It's hard to go after them when you're speaking or whatnot. And it's really easy to get discouraged when you see people who are like super successful and you're struggling. And at least for me, in all sorts of situations, I just say, as long as I put myself in that situation, like I like force myself to be proud of myself. Like, I don't care if I completely botched it, completely like seemed really nervous or thought other people saw my nervousness or whatnot. But it's just the fact that I got up and I said something is just huge. And I think I slowly tricked my mind into liking that. And you have to like trick your mind into liking that. You have to trick your mind into saying like, oh, like you can't focus on like, oh, what you're actually saying and the content and the delivery when you're not yet good at something. So you say, okay, just the fact that I'm getting up and being brave enough to do that, like that's an achievement in itself. And like that started to give me, at first I was like, okay, like I just screwed that up. I feel kind of crappy. But then I was like, okay, you know what? I should just be proud of myself for getting up. And then slowly but surely, I developed that like kind of good feeling, that adrenaline rush after just getting up. And then that kind of gave me more motivation to get up in the future. So it was like kind of like a mindset change for me.
And that switch is really important. I think there's a study done on stress, and there's two groups: people who perceive stress as a way to grow and a way to, I guess, personally develop, and people who perceive stress as something that was, you know, an inhibitor, something that held them back. And obviously there's different like if you're like maybe, you know, there are different intensities, but the study showed that with people with moderate stress, people perceive the stress as something that could help them push them forward.
Yeah.
The stress actually benefited them. So I think it's the same thing when you're going to do a public speaking. It's stress, but it could be a good stress or it can be a bad stress. It could be a stress that you enjoy, you want to go toward, you enjoy the feeling of that stress, or it could be a stress that puts you off. And I think that's just a pretty simple mentality switch. And once you start perceiving as a stress that you want to go toward, I think whenever you enjoy something, you're going to get better at it.
Totally.
So as long as you're enjoying that feeling of putting yourself in that position, you're going to start becoming addicted to it.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're going to start getting really good at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. Someone gave a talk in Toastmasters about how people perceive stress and expected life or life expectancy. And it was the people that, so there were I think there were like three groups. There were people who disregarded stress as a thing. Don't quote me on this because this might be factually incorrect. But there are people who disregarded stress. They said, or not disregarded stress. They said, oh, I'm not very stressed and I don't really care. And those people are kind of like a control group. And then there are people that were stressed and they saw stress as a negative thing, right? They saw stress as like, oh, I really want to avoid stress at all costs. And then there are people who are stressed, but they saw stress as, you know, it's there, it's necessary. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. And the people who saw stress as negative actually lived like 5 years on average less than the people who saw stress as just kind of a neutral thing or a positive thing. And that's crazy. The mind is really powerful, I think.
And it's the whole mentality of viewing life as a journey too. It's like,
yeah, totally.
If you like, the way that I view it is like, in 10 years, I want to be like 10 times as good at public speaking. I want to be 10 times as good at martial arts. And I want to just be like, and I want to be 10 times as good as having conversations with people. And I want to be 10 times as good. I want to be like a completely new and updated version of myself. Totally. So when you view that, then life is way funner. and when you view life as a journey, then stress is required because you have to go through those moments.
You can't avoid those moments.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to be stagnant the entire time, and it's just not fun.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. These mindset things, I think about them a lot, and I read a lot of like self-help, these little, I don't know, I've been reading Quora a lot. Yeah, Quora actually has some really good self-help things because they're like short little snippets from reliable people. And I think I read something on Quora that said like, you don't really need to go out and look for role models. Just your role model is like yourself in 5 years, yourself in 10 years. Like if every day you ask yourself, like, is this something that I want my role model to do? Like me in the future to do? Like, is this something I would do? Like, would I like hit snooze on my alarm? Like, would the best version of myself hit snooze on the alarm? Or like, would I just get out of bed now? Would the best version of myself, I don't know, let the pedestrian go on a crosswalk or something? That's kind of a bad example, but things like that. Would the best version of myself get up and raise my hand in class and like actually speak? Things like that. And going back to like being better, like comparing yourself only to your past self. I remember when I was working at Nest, this high-tech company, I was an intern there, and I was super unprepared going in. I had like one programming class. I was doing software engineering. I had one programming class under my belt. I had just taken a gap year. There was, you know, I luckily had a family friend who worked there who was able to land me the interview. And, you know, I wouldn't have even probably been even looked at if I didn't have this connection. So he got me the interview. I went in, I interviewed, and I pretty much told them, like, you know, I have one class. I told my soon to be manager. I have one class on my belt. I'm not the most experienced intern you're going to hire, but I'm going to work my ass off. Sorry, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to try to soak in as much information as I can and contribute to the team. And I remember the first 2 weeks I had like this honeymoon phase. I was super excited just to be there. There's all this free food. It was like this Camelot style lifestyle. It was just like ideal. I was in Silicon Valley working for a really successful high tech company. I was just in this honeymoon phase, so I wasn't really stressed at all. I was just like trying to learn as much as possible. I was reading all these notes and learning a million things every day, and I was just super stoked to be there. And then that faded off, and I started struggling a bit with some of the work I was doing just because it was hard. But at the time I had this like very narrow focus, like, oh, I have to like be doing this well, like I have to like I got the job, I have to like live up to these expectations. In reality, there weren't much expectations like as an intern, so like I don't know, the stress was kind of just created by myself. But I remember just having this imposter syndrome, like, why am I here? Like how did I even get this job? Like, should I even be here? Like, I started questioning that, like, am I even good enough? And so I really had to like drill down on like just focusing on myself and like getting that mindset. So like I said every day, like, as long as I'm better than I was yesterday, then I'm happy. And I saw, other people, other full-times doing amazing work, giving presentations, whatnot, other interns doing some pretty cool work. And I would get down on that. So I just really brought the focus back to myself, which was super hard. And obviously I wasn't perfect at it, but that kind of got me through the rough times. And then I kind of got over that rough patch and then started being like super successful there. And like, I had a great time. And it was just that mindset change. And I think I try to carry that with myself every day, like to be better than I was the previous day, although that's pretty hard.
I think that's really important.
It's super important to be focused on yourself.
Too much to other people, you become bitter.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you're going to be better than everybody.
Yeah.
And if the way you judge yourself is based on how somebody else is doing, then one, you're going to want to get better, but you're also going to want other people to do worse. And that's just going to make you a bitter person. Super true. So it's better just to focus on yourself, and that way your only goal will be to get better as an individual and not... Because we all have those... I mean, let's be honest. Everybody has those tendencies. You feel jealous when somebody else is good, or when somebody else is doing something that you want to be doing, but you're not. Yeah, and that I feel like that's something that you can't really control sometimes. Exactly. Like that's human. It's like an evolutionary thing. It is an evolutionary thing. Yeah, it's like it's in place. It's like natural selection essentially. So that it's for survival, I guess. And that's what I think is really cool about the journey is you start off with these instincts almost, and your goal is to kind of, they're hardwired into you. Like, you feel jealous when somebody, or you're going to feel angry, but you have to, I think focusing on yourself is one of the things that's really important, and straying away from those kind of negative feelings and emotions that'll just probably hold you back. Jealousy and envy are probably pretty counterproductive in a lot of, although they are hard to avoid though. This is everything we're saying here is a lot easier said than done. It's not about not having those feelings. It's about not letting them control your actions. It's not just letting them pass and not acting on them. Absolutely. You need to feel everything that you're feeling, but I think taking like an objective stance on that and not acting on emotion 100%. is huge. Logical. Just being logical. Our good friend Lucas Monroe is an expert on that. A very logical man. There's this very smart dude. MMA instructor / philosopher dude his name's Firas Zahabi, and his thing is you got to be 80% logical and 20% emotional. So really, you want most of your decisions to be based off no emotion. Yeah. You still want that emotion. You need that emotion. Emotion is what lets you be creative. And you don't want to be boring. You got to connect with people. You have to connect with people over emotion. So you still want emotion, but you want the logic to be the thing that's running the ship. Yeah. You need to feel emotion. So that's kind of like a fuzzy question, like where do you draw the line between logic and emotion? Obviously there's no answer for everyone, I think, but I think another thing along similar lines is like having that, we're talking about like having that that long-term outlook. I think you mentioned it, like, oh, I want to be 10 times better than I am now in 10 years, blah blah blah. I think there's also, you have to find that balance between focusing on the present and focusing on long-term, because sometimes you can get overly caught up in the long term, right? You can become a rat racer. You can only, study for that test and then
get through to the weekend, then party. It's like that rat racing lifestyle. You grind through high school to get into a good college. You grind through college to land a good job. You retire, and then your life's over. Oh, absolutely, in this area.
People just study things they don't really want for more long-term.
Totally. I totally fell victim to that, and I'm finally learning like how to find that balance. I still am not there yet at all, but I'm trying to find that balance between when to be present, completely present, focused on, what I'm doing now, like live in the moment a little bit, and balance that out with like, okay, I have these long-term goals. I need to work towards them.
100%.
But yeah, it's also easy to get caught up in the moment, right? Like just be partying all the time, or maybe be working so hard in the moment, just be focusing on one task, and if you fail at that, then you get really down and discouraged, and you don't see the bigger picture.
That's something that I've definitely thought about a lot. Even if you're doing something you're passionate about, you're not going to like it 100% of the time. You're not going to be like, there are going to be times where you just have to push through and think about the long-term benefits, even if it's something you're meant to do, something that you love doing. So I think there's always going to be those moments, and everybody has those moments. And yeah, those are just, everybody experiences those times where you just have to, sacrifice some short-term gain for long-term benefit.
Yeah. And I think it's easy, at least for me, when you fall into a really stressful or sad period of your life, you're going through some tough times, it's easy to for me, it was really easy to let myself get caught up in the moment and get caught up in, all my thoughts, like, oh my gosh, like, it's never going to get better. And you kind of forget the good times. It's like kind of looking backwards too. You need to have that balance of like looking back into your past and like, seeing the good times that happen and seeing the times that you were strong, the times that you overcame challenges and whatnot. And I think, the mind is such an interesting thing. When you get caught up in these present moments with like negative emotion, you start to, your memory kind of plays tricks on you, and you sometimes don't remember how you got through tough times in the past. And so like finding that balance of looking backwards and look like retrospectively saying, what, I've been in a similar situation before and I got myself out, and having that confidence that you can get yourself out is huge. And I think it's a constant balance between, remembering, being present, and like looking long term, I think, which is like super hard to master, and it's different for everyone, obviously.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The way I like to think about it is, especially when you're going through those tough times, I think the mind is almost like a data processor. And when you're going through a tough time, the data that's coming in, you impose like a negative twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not objectively seeing it.
Yeah.
So you just have to. So if you have a bad day, and let's say like somebody says something where you normally wouldn't even take offense to it, you might find it insulting.
Totally.
Just because that data is warped. It's not. You're not analyzing it properly. And same when you're having a good day. Whatever data comes in, you're gonna interpret it like in a very positive manner. If somebody messages you, you're gonna, whatever happens, you're gonna have an optimistic view on it.
The law of attraction, right? Like if you put out positive energy, the law of attraction says that you're gonna get back positive energy, and a lot of people vouch for that.
Yeah. So I think it's important
lifestyle.
that when you're going through a bad day or whatever, when you're going through a tough time, to realize that whatever you're perceiving is going to be negatively, your mind is automatically negatively, whatever, contain or affecting
like twisting it.
Exactly. And then once you realize that, then you can just chill a little bit and realize what you're seeing might not be entirely objective.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to do, but yeah, like taking, one way to do that is to try to be as objective as possible. I remember you talking about this with me, like taking that third person vantage point of like kind of what you're experiencing. It's like almost like an out of body experience. Like experience it, feel the emotion, and then like objectively make a decision and act on that emotion. But don't let that emotion like make you compulsive and act on something, or like even make you compulsive to feel another negative emotion. Like if someone comes up to you and says something like, "Oh, like I don't like your outfit," or blah blah blah. I mean, if someone says like some sort of thing that you can perceive as negative or positive, I don't have an example right now, but they come up to you, and if you jump to the conclusion that they're trying to roast on you, or they're making you feel insecure, and then you start feeling worse, it's kind of like a snowball effect. So you kind of have to like take a step back and like almost feel it objectively, although that's like so hard to do. I think
momentum is a big thing.
Momentum is big.
That's why I think like let's say you're going through a really tough time, just start with like one positive thing, like join a sports team, join a community, join something where you find people that you like. And even if that one thing will start positively infecting the rest of your life, And that,
You probably have to start a little smaller scale than that, even though.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not, but I think a community is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of community. Just join a club. That's a pretty easy.
Communities are huge. Yeah.
So and then even that's just 1 hour a week. You start building confidence from there, and then you build a momentum, and that's when you start having that positive outlook toward it.
Totally, momentum's huge. I remember during my during some of the times that I was struggling at CMU. I remember I'd have a good week, and it would take me a while to build up that positive momentum, just because my mindset was kind of in this negative, pessimistic outlook. I was not bitter, but I was very reserved. And then one thing would happen, and it would just come tumbling down. And I felt like I remember thinking about this, like why is it so hard to build like a positive week, like a positive mindset over the course of like a week, a month, not even a month, like a week or 2 weeks, and then it just comes crashing down right away. And I think that was because my mindset wasn't right, and maybe I was just in a bad environment.
Yeah.
Who knows? Do you have to head out?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Thanks for listening,
yeah.
guys.
Cool.
Peace
Okay.
out.
First episode of the podcast.
Peace.
Peace.